Hey YouTube, me again. One more message I gotta say. To the church, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are like, why you keep making videos bashing the church? There's a lot of things about the church that need to get corrected. Because if y'all knew what was happening on the other side of eternity, all the church folk that ain't making it into heaven because they don't know the truth about their Savior or their God or their beliefs, you get it. But anyway, I know I say it a lot, but there's a reason. Jesus never went to church. There's a reason I'm saying that. Because heaven is not full of people that went to church. Heaven is full of people that follow Jesus. That has nothing to do with going to church. And I'm going to keep remaking these videos because it needs to keep being resaid. The Father never said you had to go to church to follow him. He never said that. No one time in the Bible that wasn't rewritten 1,000 times for 1,000 purposes that 1,000 people wanted. He said love him in spirit and in truth. Where do you hear church? You don't. He said when one or two gather in my name, there I am. He never said church. He said, when two or more people gather in my name, there I am. He never said church. None of them sentences said church. Like, y'all created that church crap because y'all want to control people. God don't care nothing about that. Like, literally, you could sit in your room and talk to him. You could sit outside. You could sit in the forest. You could sit by the sea and talk to him. Church is not one place that God said anyone had to go to, but it's where people are taught they're supposed to, because that's a building that slave masters made to hold the slaves and put them in check. And just a little word of advice. The reason why deacons wear gloves in the church is because in slavery, the slaves would have to wear gloves because the slave master didn't want the slaves' black, dirty, decrepit hands touching their money. So they make them wear white gloves as a sign of purity. And also they had them have one hand behind their back because they assumed the money that the slave master was putting in the basket, the slave would try to steal it. So to keep that from happening, they had them hold one hand behind their back. Basically all this stuff is slavery. It's just all slavery. God never said you had to go to church. He never said you had to join a religion. He never said none of that. All he said was know him in spirit and in truth. That has nothing to do with a building. That came from slavery. Real talk. Because the only way the slave masters could manage the slaves was to put them in the building and then put some type of slave to be the priest or whatever you want to call it, and teach them lies to the other slaves to keep them in line. So all this church and stuff y'all doing, y'all think that it's right to do it? No, it's not. Now, am I saying you can't? No, what I'm saying is that's not what God said you had to do. That's what people said you had to do. All God said is, when two or more gather in my name, there I am. All the other stuff I just said. But seriously, he never said you had to go to a building. That is not what he said. Not what he said at all. Just know him in spirit and in truth for who he really is. That's it. Do your research, find out, read all you can read. The Bible is the biggest lie ever written, literally, the biggest lie. Read everything outside the Bible. You'll find out for yourself who your God and Jesus and all these other entities, deities, teachers, prophets, all these people really are. Just so you understand. Because a lot of this lying stuff needs to stop, because it's not helping nobody. Peace. And just so you know, all your prophets say the same thing. Do your research, man. Learn. Stop letting people tell you whatever you think or whatever they think you want to hear because it sounds like it's right. Because let me tell you something. Sugar and salt look exactly the same until you taste them, and then you see the difference. And the church be feeding you sugary ass teachings. Then when you find out that they're lying to you, you be salty as hell. You get it? Everything in the church seems all sweet like sugar, but then when you find out there's some BS, you be salty. But both of those things are white. They look pure, but they have two different tastes. And when somebody's telling you the salty truth, You ain't got no choice but to be mad, but it's gonna heal you. Somebody telling you a sweet lie, you don't grow. That's just not how things work. So, yeah, peace.